So the next story is, now this next story is different. Daughter kills herself after her mother accused her of stealing. Let us listen attentively.
Yeah, and this thing really happened. We will be playing the voice note too of the girl. This was her final voice note before she took her life. So we will be playing. It's muted. All right, let's start. Can you see it?
Yeah. So on the 15th of March 2021, I found out about the most disturbing news. A close friend of mine took her life. It was the unbelievable, because she was literally fine the night before, posting about Grammys, only to find out she was dead some hours later. She killed herself. This is the most vibrant person I have ever known. What happened? Almost no one could answer the question at the time, and most of us just seemed to assume it was depression, and she was just masking it with a smile. I have known her for a long time, and even with personal issues, it never got so bad that she would actually take her own life. I found it too hard to believe, so I did some digging to the best of my abilities. I discovered it wasn't entirely depression. It was family issues and ultimately emotional abuse that pushed her off the edge. I was able to get some chats before the family seized her phone. Chats between her and her mother. Apparently, her grandmother accused her of taking a large amount of money which she had nothing to do with. She pleaded with them of her innocence, and it seemed it had been happening for a while, but no one believed her. I will attach the screenshot below. She was reaching her breaking point due to the constant emotional abuse from her family. They threatened to arrest her for a crime she didn't commit. She reached her limit and reached out to them one last time, but all they did was more threats and emotional and mental abuse. She bought Snapper. Snapper is like a rat poison. Snapped the picture of the snapper, and told them of what was coming. They didn't seem to care. She took her life over something that could have been avoided. I'm posting this because I have been seeing strange comments regarding her death. Stop your speculation. So I think people were speculating rumor. And this poster said, I also want to raise awareness on the effects of words of family members, especially parents and guardians. My friend died because she was bullied by her own family so much that she felt alienated. If you can't be kind, don't have kids. Stop bringing children to the world to suffer. Parents should learn how to show their children love and affection. Most times, parents care only about the physical and not mental health. Below is the chat with her mother.
So we have the chat on here. They might not be clear for you also see, but Yo-Yo would see if she can read. So this was the girl's last chat to her mom.
Yeah, so these were the last chat before the girl took her life. The girl said, I'm going to buy Snapper. And then her mother was like, you said you did not take the money, so why killing yourself?
Meaning that the mother knew that the daughter was suicidal.
Yeah. So the mother knew. Yeah. So and then the girl said, because I can't suffer for what I didn't do. Because remember, they are threatening to arrest her. And I cannot suffer for what I didn't do. Then the girl is saying that, talk to me, pick my call before I do this. She's telling her mother. Her mother now said, you are with the money. The girl was like, okay. And the mother said, I swear, if you don't talk, I won't come for you. If they pick me up, I swear, if you don't talk, I won't come for you. I won't come for you, they pick me up. You are so wicked. So this is the mother talking to the daughter and telling the daughter that I'm begging you, talk to me now. So that we know what to do, right?
And so the daughter bought the snapper and she sent her mother the picture that she was going to take the snapper right now.
The girl said, before we play the video, the girl said, I have never felt love in this family, not once. Throughout my whole life, it's been me struggling with everything. It all ends now. Since when you that my mother doesn't believe me, and when I say I didn't do something, I am sorry for all the troubles I have caused you. I hope all of you find peace with yourselves. And the mother said, send to her, not me. I don't know who the mother was referring to.
Send it to your grandmother.
Like send it to your grandmother. The mother also told her that you are not a good child. Lies is too much, or something, that the girl lies too much.
And then we'll read the girl's suicide notes. and then we will play
the video,
her
voice notes. So this is the side note. This is the notes she wrote before she took her life. She said, last note, my whole life I have been looking for closure in every single thing I can get, friends, activities, and whatever. It's just never enough. I have never felt any genuine love from family or happiness. It's always me struggling, like I have to work to get my rights. I have to do something in order to get something in return. I know I'm not perfect. I have made mistakes, and one single mistake I made is what they are using against me right now. I feel so anxious and I can't help it. I have been sitting on the edge my whole life, waiting for the next bad thing to happen. I can't do that anymore. I'm grateful for all the ones that have genuinely loved me, and I'm sorry to the ones I would affect by doing what I'm about to do. But I really need this peace.
So yours, give me a minute. I will go and we'll go and we'll share our screen now, and because we have to share the screen in order to be able to get the video file.
Okay. So 1 second while we share the screen.
Okay, found it. I think everybody should be able to see it now. That's good. Okay. And we'll go to the voice notes.
Mommy, you want me to lie against myself for what I did not do? No problem, no need for you to. No, don't pick anybody up. I've already bought the sniper. No problem. Goodbye.
So yeah, that was the last.
So that was our last statement and last voice note, sadly. And then she took the snapper and she died.
She killed herself. I know that stuff. So yeah, I think I have it done.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of the story.
Let's see what the community is saying.
Remy, welcome. Welcome.
Eunice is saying something.
Can you guys hear us?
Can you hear us?
I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Eunice is saying something. I have older senior family members who take every family matter before the clan. Public perception is huge in Africa. Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. And Eunice saying, my heart bleeds for her. She actually sounded more mature and smarter than her mother. She acknowledged that she's not perfect. What a painful story. Another generational thing.
And this is a game between women.
Mothers, I'll be saying, prove it to me, do it to yourself. This girl was begging. Mommy, pick my call. Mommy, pick my call. Mommy, pick my call. Let me talk to you. Useless African mother. Wicked woman. And the thing is that, the painful thing is that, and there's some people you see that they are smiling, they're just trying to exist. She said, I've been on the edge. So she has been depressed. Imagine that you're staying in a house, your mother keep, what is that thing? Gaslighting you. They keep gaslighting you, telling you that because the mistake you made, and they are using it against you every time.
Annie, I see what Annie is asking. Annie is asking a question about, is it possible? She wants to see from a different angle. Is it possible that the girl has been stealing in the past, but always lies about it? So
no,
there is
it's not
something,
possible because it's
not even once. Let me share the screen again because there was something that they wrote on there. So if you see at the end, yours might not see it now. But at the end, the person who was telling the story started that they started sharing the story because of the conspiracies they were hearing about the girl's death. At the bottom of there, she said, I didn't add that the money wasn't physical. It was transactional, so via online transfer. And the owner of the money is abroad. So, and the friend was in Nigeria. So how can it be that she'll be able to gain access to online transfer?
When she's like Nigeria.
So it's like, the accusation itself
doesn't make sense.
Because if you say somebody stole money and it's online that the money movements happened, you should be able to prove online because it would have entered someone's account.
Exactly.
But to go on and say you want to threaten your child that you're going to bring a police to come and
arrest her.
Your child has told you repeatedly that she's not the one that stole this money. And mind you, she shared, thankfully, with this her friend, some of her struggles that she's had with her family, with her family members. She also said it, even saying to her mother of how she has never felt welcomed in the family. So this is like the heights. She told her mother, pick your call. Perhaps if the mother had picked her call and said, my daughter, calm down, I will listen to you or whatever.
Like wire transfer.
This girl would not wire transfer. How can you?
How can she be
if
the one that stole wire transfer?
It's not cash. The money is not cash. You know,
let's hear what
so that's one thing. But you knew your daughter was suicidal, and
They
You
lack
know what?
compassion and empathy in Africa. They lack, especially
Exactly.
Nigerians. They don't even people would have passed through the same trauma in Nigeria. They will still judge
Yes.
people.
Yes, I agree with that completely. And again, it boils down to self. Oh, at the end of the day, no love here. And again, people, Nigerians, they like to born plenty children when if you take care of, they not get enough love for. I don't understand why people, you don't love the person you're with. You don't want to have, but yet, still yet, as they say in Nigeria, still yet you have children, and then you bring them into the world, you frustrate the life out of them. This is this thing has been, you know how long this thing has been happening? I literally grew up with people that I have a friend who had her mom passed away when they were very young. The father remarried like quickly. The stepmother, oh my God, maltreated my friends and her siblings. My goodness. The stepmother used to call then the police to arrest those children. It took my dad and a couple of other people's parents to intercede on. They would leave these children without food, without clothes. I'm telling you, school, they will refuse. If it wasn't for the grandmother that was paying for their school fees, the father was not willing. The man did not raise one, he did not look. Whatever the stepmother did was okay. Those children went through a lot. Thank God they did not choose to, exit life, because if they had done that, they would have been well within their rights. Those people, those are people that I know I saw with my own eyes and I grew up with. Traumatic experience. The only place they found solace was in their friends' houses, in my house, and then in other people's houses that they had friends. Then they had friends that were like father figure. My dad was like a father figure to them, and all of that. If not, those children would not have lasted. They grew up in very violent and very malicious background. So I could have seen this type of thing playing out in their lives as well. Unfortunately, it keeps happening because there's a lot of women with no self-love, nothing whatsoever. So they just marry because it's the next thing to do, pressure, whatever. Then they
Yes,
enter the thing
and
and
just
then
get
have
pregnant.
children back to back, like five of them. You don't love any one of them. You don't like your children, so you will smack them, insult them with all the heavy insult in this world, and then you frustrate them, emotionally stunt them. Man, it's sad, but it's a reality.
Have you also noticed this thing that apart from even the normal Christian thing, when they will say Christian mothers preaching goodness in their children, have you noticed that the average Black or African mother does not speak in reality positivity to their child? Like they're always cursing.
It's costly,
They're
yeah.
always sing out.
Yeah.
And they will put their sticky mouth to say, "I'm the one that can bless you." Mama, you get grace.
Use words like
Who needs blessing from somebody that curses people?
I brought you into this
Lord,
life. I can
I will,
end
I
your
will
life.
take you out of this world.
Look at you, useless like your father's people. You are
Yes.
they never ever.
There's no love from their
how for
mouth.
the most part, or you want people being now, like they come to the child's level, even if the child upset them or something. You try to have but in Africa, it's always straight as you are beating the person.
Because there's no self-love. Look, maybe we look, see as our society be. When we sit down and think this matter, let's reason it together. Look, if to say self-love, do you think the society will be this bad? In no go they this bad.
Yeah.
With all the drama when they go on in different parts of the communities for that country.
Yes.
Why be say people never rise? Like, okay, typical example. Now that's a small boy now when they just on a life for that secondary school. When people see allow their children go back to that school.
My dear.
When they fight for that Peking, how many people come out? This is what I'm talking. There's no self-love.
Yep.
It starts from self until we begin to understand that. Until we begin to understand that self-love is number one, first of all, and then erase all those lines when they don't draw for all the people for Nigeria. You are from this side, you are from that side, you don't speak my language, until they start to remove those layers. the problem will persist. I'm sorry to say. It is the ones that will now say, no, I choose different, that will be making small difference, but it go take a while. So I understand. The thing just happened to this girl. Unfortunate as it seems, she's not the only one. There was one, I think it was last year. This girl, beautiful girl, model. She was modeling. I think she's from a very, her
Yeah,
father
rich
is a big
family.
preacher.
Yeah,
Thank you. When she unalived, because her father was abusing her for
yes, I remember
years.
that story.
Yeah, we remember.
Remember that story.
Exactly. It's lack of what I mean in the world. Animals
Even
don't even
animals
do
don't
that
do
to
that.
themselves.
Animals don't
Animals.
even do that.
Exactly. Then
See,
your own child from your own loin, you
mhm,
choose to I mean, to me, I don't understand that level of mind,
narcissistic.
of madness,
Mhm.
that people just feel it is normal. And guess what? They will quell it. That kind of thing comes out on social media like that. The society should be on fire with people
Mhm,
every corner
mhm,
attacking. No,
mhm.
everybody keep quiet. Look
Yes,
at the
sir.
recent incident that happened. Everybody it is
Mhm,
maddening to me.
mhm,
So this is
mhm.
why we go talk. Of course, now when we know, now when we get power reach, we go do
That's so
reach. But we need
nice.
to. We can't keep quiet about it. We need to be speaking out we're taking out the poison as we see and
Mhm.
make we dey talk and make we know so we don't
Yes,
talk our own. But
smart.
it is very sad, but it's not gonna be the last, unfortunately. I know there are kids right now that are going through the same thing this child is
Mhm,
going through. Who is
mhm,
speaking from them? Put
mhm.
children at okay, imagine someone treats their own child like that. Imagine what domestic staff is going through. Imagine. You
Mhm.
see what I'm saying?
Or
Imagine
even
what
if they be
domestic staff
manager for
or
company.
employee.
Wetin employee they go through?
One that will be saying that I regret giving birth to you. Since you came into my life, there's been misery. I curse you, you are a miserable
And if
child.
you also notice, you will see
Hey!
that it's always mothers to daughters, mother. They treat their sons better.
Mm.
If there are any sons here that will want to dispute this, please, I beg you, come and dispute. You know,
Then they treat their son because they're trying to get the love when they not get from their papa. If you notice, people, those women when they treat their sons better, the love when they not get from their papa, now they try to collect from the sons. That is why
Exactly.
most women, Nigerian women, they want to born boy. That even if the man says okay, Tiri, I'm alright with two girls, it's alright. Now let girl we right. The women go say no, we must get boy. Why? Because that boy go come be like husband for her.
yes.
That
So
they
the
can
love when
control.
they not fit get from the man, they'll come they collect am from the boy. Now it make it be like say that they spoil the boys.
Yes.
This is the reason. There's a deeper reasoning behind it. It's
Common sense
sad.
sisters, can you hear me now? Can you hear
Yes.
me?
I hear you, Jane.
What do you guys have a specific question for me? Sorry, I had to put
No
No
question,
question
no.
to me.
We are just
I guess as people are talking, there may be questions will come to my head. This one is free speech for the useless mothers. And they will join to be celebrating happy mothers. That mother they kill them over there.
They join so they look for gift for Mother's Day.
oh man, I don't honestly when you guys were reading that story, like I felt so emotional that I could actually like feel my eyes were welling up because I don't relate 100% to her story, but I feel that sense of feeling like you're isolated from your family and you don't feel like you really belong, and then your parents are not really listening to you and all that stuff. It's a very very um familiar feeling, just kind of reading her story and just feeling how helpless she was. um I don't know. I think there's just where do I even begin? So I like to use my own story as almost like a jumping off point for this situation. So my situation was not is not this bad in terms of like relationship with my parents, especially with my mom. But there is some overlap there where there's a lot of trauma that is passed on and inflicted on the kids, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So, in my instance, when we were growing up, because I'm not the only child, there are a few of us.
Mm-hmm.
When we we're growing up, like some of the things that you're you're actually talking about, like your parents saying, or your mom saying like really terrible things to you. I experienced that, like
Mhm.
incredibly terrible things that I still sometimes, like, I shudder when I remember some of the things that were said to me. And for a long time, it's funny, but it's not funny. For a long time, I actually didn't think that I was like my parents' kid. I thought that I was like adopted, like my other siblings were like the real children, and then I was like maybe like a spare kid that they found somewhere. Maybe that's why I felt that sense of isolation. Um, but like I always said to myself, I'm like, if I ever have kids, like I'm never ever ever going to be like my the way my mom was. I'm going to make sure that I listen to my children, I love them, I make sure that they feel loved, and I say positive things to them all the time. Um, so anyway, because of the way my family was kind of structured, I never really had a lot of interaction with my mom's siblings
Mhm.
until when I was much older. And I then saw how they were interacting with their children. And I'm like, oh, like I could actually feel, as an adult, I could actually feel like triggers of how, like, I would remember how my mom would interact with me, because I'm a little bit older than the my
Cousin.
sibling. Yeah. So, and I would hear some of the things, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, and it would remind me specifically of like what happened to me as I was younger. And I'm like, the only common denominator between my experience and what my cousins were currently experiencing was the fact that they had the same mom. And then I started putting two and two together. And then, you know how like African parents will be telling you some stories of what their mom, their mothers did to them when they were small, like it's some badge of honor. And you're like,
Yeah.
that sounds incredibly toxic and terrible. And
Manipulative.
I'm like, wow, like, okay, I'm beginning to put two and two together. And I'm like, you know what? And I'm not going to lie, I had a ton of resentment from my mom. Like a lot of resentment, because I'm like, why would you even bring me into this world if you're not, like, why would you see this kind of things to you? And then I started to empathize with her, which goes back to what Omaya was saying earlier, is sometimes some people don't know how to be parents. And the only way they know how to be parents is how they've experienced being parented. Now, it would take intentional work on your behalf to recognize that perhaps the way I was raised is not normal. Hence, I should be proactive and take these steps to make sure that my children don't experience the same thing. Unfortunately, we don't really have the foresight in our society to really think logically about these conversations. It's just, oh, 9 months later after your wedding, they're already singing. 9 months later, the children will come, and it's like, are you actually ready for those children that you're about to have? So, I get it, and I'm not trying to like defend the parents in any way, but there is just this thread, this common thread of toxic parenting, toxic motherhood, lack of empathy, lack of being able to emotionally connect with, because the only person that can really teach you what it means to love like a mother is your mother. And if you don't know how to do that, where else can the child go? So there's this thread that is just, of people just passing on consciously or unconsciously their toxic backgrounds, their toxic way of living. And even now that I'm sounding like, oh, I know that I have maybe some traumas and some triggers, and I think I've said this before.
Yeah.
um Even though I sound like I know, like I should be aware, and I've known this, I said this from when I was young, and I would tell my siblings all the time, I'm like, "Ah, if I have kids, I'll never do this, I'll never say this to them." And then when I, started having long-term relationships, I saw myself repeating some of the things that I saw in my own mom, and I said, I never ever will I ever. I just saw myself exhibiting those things, and I'm like, and it scared the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. That was one of the main reasons why I said doing therapy in the first place. Is like I said, seeing those like red flags, and I'm like, No, absolutely not. If I'm thinking of bringing children into this world, I have to be conscious of those things and nip them in the in the bud right away before I even think of having children of my own. But unfortunately, not everybody has that luxury. Not everybody has that, level of insight to say, okay, like I have to be really intentional about how I'm bringing my children into this world. But unfortunately, that's the society that we live in. But yeah, sometimes, and then another thing that I said earlier is I don't think everybody should have kids. It sounds controversial, but I just don't
It's
think
the truth. There's nothing controversial about it. I've always said, and this useless people be saying children are gift from God. No, you fuck to have them. For those who do
For the consensual relationship.
for the consensual relationship.
Yeah, yeah. Not everybody should have kids. And when I first moved to diaspora, like I would see people that would tell me, "Oh, like I never want to, like I'm not planning on having kids." They're married. They've been in marriages for years and years and years. And you're asking, "Oh, so how are your kids?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't have kids." And you're like, "Oh, where do I go with this conversation?" And then they're like, "We didn't plan on having kids." And I would be so judgmental. I'll be like, because of my, mentality from back home, it's like how will you be married and not want to have kids? But then the more I think about it, some people just are honest with themselves. Some people don't know how to think about anyone else but themselves. They're inherently selfish.
Not to cut you short, but I want to also tell you that I was also on that part. This was in my gender and the law studies class, and one of the videos was about women taking charge of their body, and not everyone wants to have kids. And I also struggled with that in class because I'm a Nigerian girl. What do you do after school? After school, if you find work, for those of them that have NYC and go through all of that in Nigeria, then you get work and you get married. After married, in 9 months' time, we will come visiting. What are you visiting for? It's for a child. So for me to be in class and also be hearing, there are women who are also married or single and say they don't want to have children. It was like, why would you be a mother and you don't want to? Why would you be a woman and you don't want to have nurturing spirits in you? Are we not supposed to be nurturers and all those things?
And that's the thing about breaking all these gender stereotypes that we put upon ourselves. It's, women are nurturing, and when people start generalizing and saying women are holy, women are this, and I shake my head because that's not true. That's not the case. We are trying to force people that don't have it in them to actually be selfless, because to be a parent you have to have some sort of selflessness, some sort of ability to put somebody else before yourself. And unfortunately some people don't know how to do that. And that's the instance of bringing it back to this story. Your child sends you a picture of a sniper and saying that she wants to kill herself, but you cannot remove the fact that you're upset about money. Are you kidding me? You can't remove that and put that above the fact that you're about to lose somebody that you actually brought into this world. So your public image, the only God knows how much money. I'm sure it's not like if they tell you
there's even no proof that the girl took anything, and they were willing to arrest her.
Yeah, there's no amount of money, right, that would even justify that. So you're putting that money, you're putting your personal perception of how people want to see you in society, and I don't even know, your irrational, you're putting all of that before your child. And I'm like, should people like that actually should be having kids in the first place if your child sends you a picture of them about to take their own lives? So I don't know, like, is there a solution to this?
No. The solution is to not have kids. Like, if you don't have, look at people. There are people that even struggle. People that even deserve
and
children.
Guest mother and her grandmother that were tormenting.
There are people that deserve children that cannot have their own. They are struggling to have their own. But some fertile people just think that because you are fertile and society, somebody must call you mama. They must sing spit more order for you. Therefore, and if it's not in you to be a child, for example, like to be a mother, you know you don't have those feelings. You should also not adopt. Because it's also not about bringing them from your tummy. Exactly. You should not collect children from your siblings, because you have people who go and stay with their aunties and their aunties
and they turn them to slaves.
In fact, you should not have anything to do with children, anything whatsoever. You can be doing good to everybody in the world, going to orphanages, giving money and all those things. But another thing to be like Oprah. Another thing too is that even Nigeria does not have helplines. For example, suicide prevention line and all those things that. There are popular ones. For example, if you call 911 now or 311, they will direct you to something. If you're thinking about something bad, But when you're in Nigeria, it's like
There's
the
no
whole
even
world
information.
is against you.
Yeah.
There is no information. There was nobody that this girl could talk to. How can you, as a mother, your daughter will send you all those things? You will listen to her say those words. I think the mother just believe that the daughter will keep on taking it. It's like, I've been doing this to her for many years. If she says she wants to kill herself, she will not kill herself now. She knows that when next you kill herself, is to go to hellfire, because that's another thing.
Yeah.
There are some African parents that will listen to this story and they will come and say,
useless.
They don't need to attack their co-parents, their idiotic co-parents. They will come and say, but why did you kill herself now? You know what will happen if you kill yourself? You know what the Bible says about this? So it's like, there are so many knots that were not even screwed. I don't want to say that they are unscrewed, because they were not even screwed in the first place. As a people, I think that we have lost all the way. Everything. It is finished. And you cannot even have a decent conversation with people that are currently mothers, or people in those generations. You can, and even we see it in our own generation too.
Yeah.
With some mothers who are repeating that same pattern with their children. They are not like proactive like Jay, who is going for therapy or saying that I don't like this thing that happened to me. I'm seeing patterns here. How can I work on myself before, if eventually I choose to be a mother one day, so that I can be prepared? Because it's a whole human being. And if mothers are producing damaged children to the world, they are coming into the society damaged. The whole society is going to be damaged. So at the end of the day, we cannot escape this problem. So when
Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah, please go on.
So, Jay, so sorry about your experience. Air hugs to you. I'm very glad that you're doing the work that you need to do. And my hope is that you continue to be stronger and can continue to work on that aspect of yourself. And as you do that, I hope that you also find deeper and deeper levels of love for yourself and for everything that's around you. And I just want to say that there's some women, because I've met some women who they're very, they love kids. They're very, what's it called? Selfless, very selfless in everything that they do, but they choose not to have children because of one reason or the other. Maybe because they have unsettled trauma from when they were young that has affected them, and some of them just told themselves, look at the world, look at what's going on. I don't even want to I don't see myself bringing a child into this world. So there's so many reasons why a lot of women would not want to bring children into the world. Those that have thought about it and considered it, there's so many children that need love. You don't even need, if you look around, if you have the capacity and it's in you to love, there's so many that are desiring of the love and that one can give that love to. There are people who don't have their own children, but the way they take care of other people's children, you'll be like, wow, they are mothers to communities and nations. They're not just mothers to 1, 2, 3, or 4, So as far as Nigeria is concerned, I think that unfortunately, if the work does not start with self, if each individual in Nigeria does not take it upon themselves and begin to unlearn some of these things and realize that, man, this is not the way for us. So unfortunately, it's gonna, I don't know when, maybe to be like future generation that we'll never know when the change is going to happen, because these things are not just happening in the cities. What about if we go to the villages, the towns, the horrors that are going on there? We can't even touch that one, first of all. The one that we are talking now is CTO. Is people in the city that have a time to be on Instagram and TikTok and the rest. The ones in the village, the stuffer is not here. And the way they think and see these things, there's no way you can explain it to them, because they're so set in it. Like, well, this is the only way we know. What do you mean? I went through it. I survived it. So who are you? You know what I mean? Exactly. So it just continues and continues and continues. So without the necessary work, you choosing to say no, right? I would say I cannot lose hope for those people, because my dad grew up in the village. He
Thank
didn't
you.
know better. He grew up in a village. He grew up into a family that didn't care. My grandfather had so many children, he no care. Wait to consign them. He didn't even bother training them in school, nothing. Everybody found their way, one somehow, somehow. In the process, he lost some children, it didn't affect him. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
it's
So,
true.
but my dad didn't want his life to be like that and said, no, I don't want to have children and not be able to take care of them. If it means that I have to go and sell bangolo on the streets, my children will not starve. I must give them everything they need, right? So what does that mean? That means that it is possible for people to do the work for themselves. Because
Yes.
my dad is a typical example of a man that grew up in the village, no hope, as in there was no hope at all. But he was able to take himself out of that and rethink about how many book the man read. He was able to rethink and re-strategize and say, no, my children, my dad spanks us, he cries. He cries, but if you see my mom, my papa, my dad, they said everybody thought he looked like Ojuku. He had that scary look. You won't know that he's a soft man inside. You understand what I'm saying? So I think everybody has the capacity to learn, to unlearn these things, but you have to decide to do it. No
Yes.
one else. It's not by the school you go. It's not by how educated or how. So you have to come to that point where you say, I don't like this. This does not leave a good taste in my mouth. No, there must be another way of doing this. And then you start to unlearn. And then you see people around you that are doing it somewhat correctly. You take some of their own style and add your own sauce to it and keep it moving.
I agree with that. You know, one other thing I wanted to say is around like there's so much pride, especially when people start to challenge, the African way, the Nigerian way of raising kids, is because sometimes I've seen conversations where they're like, "Oh, you're not supposed to like hit your kid when they do this, or you're not supposed to say this, or you're not supposed to do that," and then the first thing you hear is like, "Yeah, now wow, you're becoming a Oyibo." Yeah,
Like a
It's our African way. There's so much. It's easy for us to say, and I agree. I totally agree with what Amaya was saying about like unlearning and be intentional, because that's essentially what I'm trying to do. But sometimes the pride is just too much. You can't set aside your pride to actually think, open your mind to a different perspective. And I think while you are committing to unlearning, also be willing to set aside your pride, be willing to be open-minded, and challenge, and be willing to be challenged on what you think is normal. Because even this conversation that we're having, some people are like, oh yeah, like, oh, like they're already, some people are already defensive, like, oh, of course I'm a good parent, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but like, are you really? Like, take some time
Did
to
you
ask.
ask your children to honestly tell you, and they told you that?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Do you think that they're actually just around you because they genuinely, love you, or they're just doing it because they think,
They don't have
it's
a choice.
Imposing
right?
their yeah.
Right. So I don't know, like we do we
African African
go ahead.
parents, there are many of them,
And they lie a lot.
and the African parents, they lie
because there's no
even
there
the
was no
so-called
social
good
media.
ones, they lie to their
There was no social
lie.
media.
They lie and make you question
Oh.
your behavior.
Yeah.
I've said it on, I think it was one time, one video I said it. Me, I'm a very outgoing and outspoken person. I've always been like this as a child. And I've always been, so you cannot double cross me, not my nature. But when I was growing up, I'll be hearing, oh, as a woman, no, no go to talk like this. Maybe people know they do this for me. Oh, you have to be this way. The thing they mess up with my brain, because this is what God did not give me height, He gave me a mouth. And so I have to use it to defend myself. Only for me to go for wedding where my mother's classmates open her and were saying that this is your mama and sharp mouth and all those things. So I asked my mother, I said, why do you make me feel I'm crazy when you were very outspoken? Especially for the girl child, when you were very outspoken and all this, why is this perception of you have to be perfect? so that these people can see you in a certain way. Why do I give a hoot
Even
about
if you
what
have
people
something
think?
negative to say it in a positive light.
Yeah,
so
they
that
come and tell you, say,
it's about the receiving
receiving
this.
gifts.
Like,
No.
hey, you're stressing me out.
And I started telling my parents that I don't care what anybody thinks.
Give a hoot. See,
They struggled with it with me at first. Yeah, you don't say this, like that. I told my mama, say, I don't care. Till today, they got used to me saying that. If it's going to disturb my peace, I do not want it, please. I don't care. Even you to the parents, if you do anything, I will set my boundaries. Because when you are going through the pain and torture in your head,
nobody's there.
you can't even talk. Nobody's there.
How can you even explain
It can drive you nuts because they will. Why are you talking like this? Jesus Christ is the way. Go and talk to a pastor. Go and talk to this. Maybe there's some spiritual distance. Spiritual work. Spiritual work. Oh, maybe there's a. Or when you bring the idea of therapy, oh, God forbid, so
we're not going to tell people our problems. So
let them not come and shame us. So
like Jay was saying, defensive, there's no way. So people don't even.
You can't
they
reason.
Just choose.
So you can't set the boundaries.
They enjoy the box that they are in.
Yes, and they want you to be inside that same
They
box.
want you to be
because
there.
they want you to be a certain way that the society thinks you should be.
Society that don't give a damn. The only society that Nigeria should be caring about is Nigerian government.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that you should be dragging.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that you should be
Parents,
dragging.
Africa president,
International disgrace. Those are the people that you should care about. But no, before you talk, they say you should obey your parents. Forget that they say don't provoke your children to anger. But every day, every second, African parents they poke. They're like that Facebook button. They poke and they provoke to anger. But they expect us to be sponge that we keep on taking. Sponge after water don't full and it drip. After some time, you cannot take it anymore. It's too heavy. That's why you have kids like this that go and take their life. And the country does not even help. You know how we used to say about it?
Not just
we don't know that Nigerians can take everything. You know, Nigeria will commit suicide before this one. It's because there's no statistics. There's no proof. We know they see them. People don't share that. So people don't talk about it. Sometimes there's something will happen. Some people will come and say, instead of to tell you what happened to your child, they'll come and say,
you're judging
your timely death, or this one happened, this one happened.
God give it and God take it.
God take it. It's like, I don't understand this kind of mindset.
Then they come and tell you that child is a gift from. Okay, so if you believe that child is a gift from God, are you not supposed to take care of the gift?
Is this how you treat your gifts?
You know,
and I'm echoing this thing, mother. See, that's the first story. 4 generations of
this one, two generations.
This one is three. Because it's the girl, the mother, and her grandmother. They were accusing her of stealing the money. How can you be a woman? Being a woman in Nigeria, you already know how hard it is being a woman in Nigeria. Why are you inflicting additional pain to your child?
Narcissistic mothers. And many of them, everybody know whether family or no family member. Me, I don't care. If I tell you that this thing you are doing is annoying me, and I do not like it, if you keep trying to defend yourself for the pain you are causing me, they block.
People have to protect
I'm
themselves.
not for that. I don't care. I dey block. I dey distance myself.
People have to protect
and
themselves.
nobody can use religion to come and tell me that, your parents will pray for you so that the blessing will come. Forget about it.
Or if your parents should curse you, this
These
are life work. So all those parents are blessed or whatever. Yes, they are good and everything. Yeah, for people who also parents that also be cursing their children, you also think that your mouth you can also proclaim blessings, doing different things with the tongue. What did they tell you in your spiritual realm? But to think, and some children they've also conditioned them to say. So even if you even travel abroad, your brain and your mind is already trapped in a box. For example, Nigeria, you cannot go out without telling your parents that you are doing this thing. You cannot take any decision on yourself.
Have you gone to church?
You are raised to be under them and to always please them.
Yeah.
But until, like Omoye and Jay was saying, until you learn to choose yourself, and it's very, very difficult
lonely
when
road.
You are breaking away from that decision. Don't expect anybody to understand you. Expect them to be against you. So that when they're against you, when the time comes, you will say, I'm not saying your head go touch me and go behave this way. I'm ready for you. But you will not catch me in this light.
No.
You want to provoke me, today is not your day. I'm hanging up on you. I'm blocking you. Because parents are also human beings, but when they raise us, they make us see them
as gods.
As people that cannot make mistakes. So you'll be questioning, you say that this woman, they always say, after I carried you for 9 months, I'm doing this. So after you carry the person for 9 months, why
now
would you be doing this?
You see me that you went through that pain.
Why would you be doing this? So women too, they cannot, as much as they say women are supposed to be nurturing and be emotional. We know they see emotional women in all these kind of things. So where was these mothers and grandmothers? Where were their emotions? Where was the soft spot? You know how they say mother has soft spot. A mother's heart it's like so smart
Mama is
for their
strong,
child. It's always, and Omei has broken this thing down because I used to always want that thing of generational trauma, and it's always between a certain gender, a certain women, mother-in-law is now
mothers to
daughters, all that. Now it's also another thing of they will love the son because they see them as this is one man that can never disappoint me. So I will train him in this way. But you keep on adding problems to your child and your daughter. Like women are there suffering in Nigeria. You're there bringing more trauma on your female child.
This guy say, as a parent, I can curse you, I can bless. Why are you keep quiet? When did God not want to make you happy? No go happen.
So that thing of blessing, because I don't believe if you're a bad person, bad will happen to you. It might take a long time, like people in the Nigerian government. But bad thing, if it happen to you, it's a law of karma. It's work. Nobody can curse you. If you're a good person, nobody can curse you.
Nobody. What will happen to the orphans?
Who is another fellow human being to curse you? Who? A fellow human being, also born of a woman, to curse you, including your own mother or your this thing. If that's so, you know how many children they curse their parents. And like Jay was saying, you think that your children are just there, that they because they love you. No, they don't have choice. Children don't have choice. If this girl get choice, she will not cut off everything now. If she had something to, if she has something to hold on to.
Let me take it to the West here. If she had choice, right? You know that many of them now, even if either they will get into drugs or they run away from the house.
Or they become drunkards.
Oh my, I know you want to say something. Let me just say this thing first. There was this guy, I think he was telling his story on Today's show, YouTube, right? Yeah. So this guy, his parents, they were staying in Port Harcourt. His parents, the home was not a good place for him at all. At 10 years old, he ran away from Port Harcourt to Lagos. Found himself in Lagos.
We know you say the parents, they look for him.
They did not look for him, found himself in Lagos. Then one call girl, like an Ashawo lady, was the one that, because it's an Igbo guy now, Igbo boy, then took him in. Helped him for a couple of months.
So the Ashawo prostitutes
were telling her that you cannot be, the rule is you cannot have any male gender inside this place for our own safety and all that. She had to let this boy go. He now met another person from whether Babin Saloon or whatever.
Babin Saloon, that was the man was his fellow
Igbo brother.
He was supposed to be teaching him the Babin and just helping him. This useless Baba was molesting this young man.
Yes.
So it's like, where was the mother that gave birth to this 10-year-old? When your child was running away from the house, why were you not going crazy that my son, no, I cannot live without my son, all these things. So
the guy is I think he dresses celebrities and all those things, but you can see that.
You can see the trauma.
He was trembling when he was even talking about his story to Trudy. That's what Omoye was saying, that they go born plenty children. Even if they die, they don't care. They don't care. Well, Omoye, say something, please. I'm sorry for making it.
No worries. I actually didn't know that I had it on. I was listening to that. Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, this is something that, unfortunately, let me because I'm solution minded. No matter how terrible a situation is, I always feel I believe very strongly that there's always a way out. But it has to start with the conversations we're having, and then further conversations that will take place beyond this place that we have. We have to keep talking about these things because they're very important, because you don't know who's going to listen to this and who's going to internalize it. God knows there's certain things that I have found, through reading books and, doing my own research and all of that. It's made me a much better person. So that's why I said this work is an individual work, and I think that this is the reason why the Nigerian society, it's in the quagmire it is in right now, because people have not taken the time to do the work. Everybody's thinking within the same box. That's four corner. That is it. They cannot bust out of that box and say, I beg, and throw and clear the box and throw it away. It's almost like they can't. It feels like they are trapped in there, but there's nothing trapping them. It just takes you saying, you know what? I know where I'm coming from. I know the types of conditions I grew up under. Because this happened to me, I don't want someone else to go through this. So if I see someone around me who's experiencing this, I will speak up for them. I will stand in the gap for them. If I have more power, I will speak for those people that don't have the power to speak. So it has to continue like this, even though we know that we're in a dark place in our country as it is, but we can also do what we can to push things forward, to make people to force people to look within. They always say, there's a saying in Chinese, I don't know how to speak Chinese, but there's a saying that says the solution that you're looking for is within you. It's within you, and it's so true. Because if you sit down and you think about it yourself, if you look at, even in the situation, no matter how terrible it is in Nigeria, where people say, oh, I don't have job, I don't have work, I don't have food to eat, that there's solution to that. There is. The reason why people are not thinking like that is because everybody is linear minded. They're thinking, oh, I have to get out of here, I have to go to Lagos, I have to start working a white collar job, or I have to be a comedian, I have to be, that's the only way I can make it. No, you,
So people
you
don't have
can
minds of
thrive.
their own.
Yes, you can thrive where you are. You don't have food, plant yam, plant cassava, grow them, use it to feed yourself, sell the one you can sell. You want to go back to school, you can't afford, because I went to school with people who were farmers, literally. They go farm, sell their product. The money when they fee pay school fees, then they will pay small. If now only one term they fee pay, they go pay, go back. You understand?
Yeah.
Sell again, come back. Some people were palm oil tappers. Everyone when they go call tap palm wine, palm
Tap and wine.
kernel. Exactly. That they sell, they go school. So everything has the capacity to change. The
Yes.
problem here is that a lot of Nigerians not ready to do the work. Now hard work, oh, to look inward is hard work, and it's a lonely journey.
And it's very
Lonely,
long.
very lonely, but it is worth it, because you come out on the other side a different person. There's nothing you cannot take on
Yeah.
once you come out on the other side. So this is the problem I see. And I think that people should be encouraged to look within. If somebody comes with a problem, ask them a question. So what do you want to do about it? What do you think is going to work for you? Okay, you have 50 naira. With that 50 naira, what can you do with that 50 naira right now? What is around you that you can use that 50 naira for?
Yeah.
Do you know how to plait hair? Do you know how to farm? Do you know how to, what do you know how to do? What skill do you have? What
Yeah.
is in your hand? What can give you immediate food? Can you fry akara? Can you do moi moi? There's so many
They're
things,
not
but
ready.
because
People are not
They're
ready to
not
do the work.
ready. They're not
You're
ready.
right.
It's not, you
now
don't.
that, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm not going to lie, and I agree with you on my. It's a lonely road to actually
Very.
look inward and take the time to actually to review and revise what you have experienced, how it has shaped you into who you are right now, and how does that jive into where you want to go. It's a very tough. It's isolating, because once you start unpacking those things, the emotions are all over the place. You feel angry. You want to say a lot of things. It's a tough road, but I recommend it to anybody, whether you're Nigerian, whether you had toxic parenting, whether your parents were the best, whether whatever it is a necessary decision, because you don't want to end up being halfway through your life and you're just like, who exactly is it that I was living for? Who was I actually living my own life? Um Yoyo was saying something earlier about, like, you know, choosing to set firm boundaries with your toxic family members is tough. I'm not going to lie, it's
It is.
difficult.
I agree.
It's
I
very
agree.
tough.
But you know what? It's worth it.
Yeah.
If you want to live a full and well-rounded life, you need to do that work of actually disconnecting for a while and see what kind of life you want for
You can
yourself.
survive.
It's not an easy job, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. It's worth it because at the end of the day, it gives you a full picture of who you are as a person. And I think for you to live a full life, you need to do that work of actually looking inward, looking completely inward with yourself, and if you're able to get a therapist, do it with somebody that can help you navigate that journey. But
Yeah.
it's essential, and I feel like a lot of us from Africa need that job, need to do that work. We, some of us are in denial, and it's fine. Like therapy, I just bought into therapy not that long ago. Like I always in the back of my mind thought that, oh, maybe I might need to talk to somebody about some of these things, but I never really bought into it until recently. But you don't have to do it with a therapist if you're not comfortable, but you have to do that work. It is essential for you to live a full rounded life as an adult, for sure.
For me,
And I wanted to recommend the book.
Okay, I'm coming before you recommend the book.
Okay.
For me, Jay, you're very right. For me, yeah, it's a very long journey. I've been on some part of that journey. But as for me as an individual that I know myself, I've never been afraid or shy of being by myself. Like I can go to somewhere new, a new country or whatever. I use everything in my brain, but I don't expect that strength from other people. For me, what I do is, if I'm not able to access therapy, YouTube is a very good resource. There's so many audio books written by powerful women, read by these women from even the 60s and the 50s, old books. And I listen to them. Because repetition, I tell myself I have to protect my mind, because anybody that has access to my mind has access to my life. So I control what I see, what I watch, and what I listen to. And who I listen to, the messages I'm getting from them, whether it's from movies or from books. So for me, and I like research, so I would go onto YouTube. Then I start looking for like audiobook. I think one of my favorite ones is the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck or whatever. Then there are books that are written by women. Then I'll be listening to them. After work, if I go to bed or whatever, it will just be playing. You'll be hearing the stories and how they came out of stuff. And I continue feeding into my subconscious. Every time it gives me power. It gives me power. Because what, as Jay was saying, it is so painful when you get to the middle of your life and then you find that you've been living the life of what your parents expect you to be, not what you are born to be, because you are not you are not working in your purpose and in the gifts that you have, because generation after generation, they've tried to suppress this gift from you. It is a lonely road. Any road that's supposed to lead you to discover your full self will always be a lonely road. That's why when we'll be saying self-love. When we'll be saying self-love, you have to feed into your subconscious, and it has to be deliberate. That is why I'm an advocate of blocking any medium, whether it is on WhatsApp. I do it. I've had to correct some relatives that send me nonsense. I will tell them, this is not right. You are spreading false information. You know, some of them, they stop messaging me. Waiting happen. I don't want to be seeing all those things. Those of them that are continuously doing, I archive them. Some of them I have blocked them. It is my space. If you want to call me or send me regular SMS, then do it. But you will not have access, because I have to protect my mind. And one thing I'm afraid of, I always say it this time, is not living in my purpose because of what people will say. And that's where that thing about the whole society thing comes in. But you have to really do the work yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. Like my own,
it's your duty to do the work.
You know,
because it's going to be for your own good.
Mm-hmm. Right from time, whether I was in second, it's something I've, even before this YouTube came, it's something I've cultivated in. You have your diary, write your stuff. Write it. It's your story. Write it. Mm-hmm. Even now that people cannot impatient to write it on your notepad. Mm-hmm. Email it to yourself. Mm-hmm. Get your own electronic journal. Create a folder in your own email this thing. Write it. Be telling you whatever it is, and store them. Then that's another way of you dumping all those things. Till sometimes you can really afford to get the therapy. But it's something that you have to be deliberate about and expect disappointment from people you do not think will ever disappoint you, because that is the reality of life.
Because they're human beings and they will disappoint you, even if you're brought into the world.
They will. Mm-hmm. A couple of them, we can recommend the book.
Mm-hmm. And even before I recommend a book, I also going to say that nobody has the right to make you feel less than yourself. Mm-mm. Nobody, and that includes your family, your parents, even your children, because there are some toxic children. Yes. But that's a story for another day. Today is for the toxic mothers, right? Nobody has the right to make you feel less than yourself. Nobody has the right to be cursing you or to make you feel bad or to emotionally damage you, verbally damage you, or even physically to manipulate you. you should not have narcissists or people who have narcissistical tendencies around you. And the book that came to mind, just wanted to recommend it because we're talking about this generational trauma and this one having to do with women. Is this book by Francine Rivers? It's called A Lineage of Grace. Talk about generational trauma from 5 or 4 different women. I think you and I read this book a couple of years ago. And for anybody who feels like reading something, I don't know if it's on YouTube or anything, it's something that you can catch and you will see how things are like that. And for in this family, for the lineage of grace I'm talking about, you will find that the mothers were mean to their direct daughters, but they were nice to their granddaughters. So treatments that they were supposed to give to their own daughter that they did not give, now that their daughters don't have relationships with them, they are extending that treatment to their granddaughters. And then you find that the new age mothers are hating on their own child because why is it that my mother is giving you all this love, but she didn't give this love to me?
Oh my God, it's the same thing in my experience as well. Because one of the reasons why it didn't click for me at the onset that there might be some trauma in my family was because my grandma was so nice to us. Every time we would go over there, it's like she was, oh my God, every time like holiday period would come along, we would be so happy. Like if they tell us that we're going to spend time with our grandma, it's like, oh my God, this is the best news. Grandma was spoiler. She's so nice. She was so nice. And then sometimes my mom would be like this grandma that you guys are shouting about, it's not the same grandma. She's really changed though. She's really soft now. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's like an interesting take. But it never really clicked that what she was saying was because of her own experience being raised by my grandma, right? Fortunately for my own mom, she's now trying to be better, although it is taking a lot of work, as mostly from my end, to be somewhat welcoming back to her, because I think she realized the impact of some of the things that she did. And I did have a come to Jesus moment at one point, and say, like, guys, like, yeah, I had to call them out, both of them, both parents. And I think that kind of reset, not all the way, but it set the relationship. So now she's like a little bit, she's less of that, even though she still has some of those tendencies and all that stuff. So it's really, it can be really tough. And then one other thing that I would recommend as well in terms of this whole toxic parenting and how to
manage
it is, one thing I've also learned is, I feel like as African children, or maybe we just want to, we feel like maybe we should be telling our parents everything. And I feel like as part of setting firm boundaries,
Jay, what are you doing? Right on, Jay. Please, Jay, please.
And as part of setting firm boundaries, I think is important, especially when you've identified that perhaps maybe you have had some form of toxic parenting, is to limit the information that you share with them. There's sometimes that like news will happen in my life and I'm just like, I don't know if these people are capable of being happy for me, that they might actually ruin the moment. Because it's happened to me a few times, where I got like a new job that was paying me a lot more money. And like, as soon as I got off the phone with the recruiter that called me, this happened like maybe like 6 years ago. I got off the phone from the recruiter and I was just so happy. Like I was so high with the excitement. And I'm like, let me call. And like the response I received was like, oh, really? Okay. I'm giving you the exact tone that I got. Okay.
That's good though.
Okay. And I'm like, I was so angry. Like I just ended the call right away. And then the next day I was like, what the hell was that? Like, a reaction to like one of the best news that I'd had. And then it put a damper on the excitement. It put a damper on, me going into that job confidently, knowing that like people are happy for me, people are rooting for me, people want me to succeed. So I've learned also to guard myself, knowing fully well that, maybe these people, and this is how I've rationalized it, is they don't know any other way. And I understand that, but I will not expose myself to that type of, interaction slash
Yeah.
communication. So me, I keep my news to myself. I do something, maybe after 2 months, I'm like, oh, by the way, I did this. Oh, by the way, I did that. Oh, by the way, I did this, because I know. So part of these things is learning how to protect yourself, you know, because it's unfortunate, and I feel jealous sometimes when people have parents that, like, once you give them news like this, they're like, they are just so happy. They're like, oh my
But
god.
we also don't know what those kids are actually going through.
Yeah, we don't know, right? But like on the surface, you're like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
I wish I had this type of, experience. I wish I had this type of, but and I'll feel some form of jealousy. And then in my mind, the default setting is to go there and be like, and maybe it's also like my incessant need to receive acceptance from them that keeps me going there. What I've learned over time is, as part of setting those boundaries, is just to be careful the kind of news that you share with them, because unfortunately they and as much as we don't want to, well, maybe we admit it, but as much as I don't like to admit it, they still play a huge role in how we see ourselves in the world and how we present ourselves in the world, consciously or subconsciously. So it's like you have to be really careful that they're not undoing the work that you're doing by always going there, and then you're hitting a brick wall every time. So that would be one of my recommendations as well, is as you're doing the work to remove yourself and break the cycle, you should also be careful as you're doing that to protect yourself in the process, because it can be very, very traumatic when you're I could tell you stories for days, but
it's true.
We can relate.
When you start talking, we're like, this girl, are you in our, like,
we can relate. And also because, like, parents, you tell your parents everything for the most part, or they raise you to tell them everything. But these same people don't tell you everything about themselves.
That is the thing.
If not, many people will know more about their culture and who their parents were.
Like the one that Jay was saying about, like, if her mom had told her the story of how she was raised, and they have that mother-daughter discussion and all those things, there might be a conversation about that stuff.
But this Lineage of Grace book is real life.
Real life story.
Different than this for white people.
It's real life story. But the thing is, and Jay is very right. Me, when it comes to there's power in information. Human beings need information for them to act or react to anything that concerns anything in this world. Less is more, which is what we're getting from Jay. As you are doing the
and
work,
what we also live by.
And what
ironically,
my soup go done. I would have finished eating, gone to the toilet to defecate what I want, and the remaining one that will help my nutritional body before you begin any story. That is how I operate. Because if you show me that by your statement or by your reaction or by your body language, when I share something positive with you and you are not, and I can also sense sometimes if somebody is faking it. I have that skill. Then I'm like, okay, it's discernment, common sense that, okay, no, this person shouldn't be knowing as things are going for me.
Yeah.
Because it affects the morale. And the thing is that once energy goes down,
negative energy is
people can suck, negative energy can suck everything away from you, that before you revive yourself again, it's like it takes a whole lot.